display their power, and the strong get stronger, the loud get louder. Electric becomes acoustic. Coming this fall, Nirvana, Unplugged, only on MTV.
Hello everyone, my name is Ryan Cam, and welcome back to episode 4 and the series finale of Achieving Nirvana. This is the fourth and final Nirvana album, MTV Unplugged in New York. But I am joined by the usual group for Achieving Nirvana. Nick from Townsend 505, how are you?
Doing good. No sports teams to watch today, so you won't be seeing me looking up here at the TV screen. So that's good news for you guys. But just got out of college not that long ago. I am ready to do some homework and review some Nirvana.
Well, coming from his room last night, it's Jacob Martin. Jacob, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. It's cool to be finishing up a series of albums. 4 albums is quite short. I know they would have had more albums consider if circumstances weren't the way they were regarding Kurt Cobain, but still, pretty good run of albums for the most part.
And finally, last but not least, it's Scott from Sound Lab Studios. Scott, how are you?
Doing good.
I got to give credit to Nick. It was his idea to start off because I wanted to review some music here on the channel, and it was his idea to do Nirvana first because it was relatively short, only 4 albums. So, but this has been a really entertaining series to do. I mean, Bleach was rough, certainly,
but it was fun.
And there are some problematic songs to be sure, but it's really fascinating to go through this discography and see like how far Nirvana came and conceivably where they were going to go, but unfortunately we'll just never know. But if you're watching live, like, subscribe, do the thing, we would greatly appreciate it. But before we get into the album proper, let's get into the
background information.
So first, a little bit about MTV Unplugged. It was on MTV starting in 1989, and it was basically artists and bands performing their hits unplugged, acoustically, in front of a small crowd in an intimate setting. That was the whole gist of it. Nirvana didn't really like the setting. They didn't think they saw any merit in it, but they were in deep negotiations for months to finally do this, and so they ended up doing it on November 18th, 1993. However, Cobain was not a fan of the idea to the point where he straight up just didn't show up the day before for rehearsal. This is attributed to drugs, but also nervousness, and it could just be a combination of those two factors. But the album was released a little later on after Kurt Cobain's death, or I believe it was shortly before. I'm blank. I suck with dates sometimes, but it's in and around that ballpark. And so this album would end up doing incredibly well, going 8 times platinum. So that's pretty huge numbers. And so just a general feelings on the album. Nick, how do you feel?
I hear a lot of Nirvana fans hail this to be one of their best albums. And I'm sorry, I'm not a big fan of this album. I think this is an overrated album, in my opinion. I mean, I respect the album. I respect the idea of the album, taking your bigger hits and some just kind of either deep cuts or songs they don't have on any other albums and making them acoustic. It's just, I'm not a fan of this album. I don't know why. There's like one particular version of the song that I think another artist did much better, the original version. We'll get to that. That many people say this is the better version. I'm like, I'm gonna disagree, but there are good songs on here. I'd say a lot of the originals are some of my favorites, and there's a version or two. There's a couple of songs that they redid for this album that I do like, but overall, not one of my favorite albums of all time. It's not an album that I would go back to.
All right, Jacob.
So I was excited to listen to this album in full because I've heard some of the bigger songs on this album, some of the unplugged versions of some of the hits, and particularly some of the covers that they did. One of them being one of my personal favorite Nirvana songs, which we'll get there when we get there. But hearing the whole album, I thought this is one of their best albums, even though it's a live album and most of the songs are songs that we've heard on previous albums, but stripped down. It was cool hearing the acoustic stripped back nature. I think it reflects some of my favorite Nirvana songs, like Something in the Way, for instance. It's cool hearing that style in every song on this album. And I thought this was a fantastic Nirvana release. And I'm going to say it's my second favorite Nirvana album behind Nevermind. That might spoil where it might go on the ranking, but considering I don't like Bleach and In Utero, I think it's an overrated album, even though there's some good stuff on it. To me, Nirvana's two best albums are this and Nevermind.
All right, Scott, what about you?
I think this is a really cool album. It's really interesting getting to hear Nirvana songs done in a different way. And I think listening to this album makes you really realize what a good melody writer that Kurt Cobain was. Kind of just putting the songs in a more acoustic setting, taking out some of the noisier aspects of them, and just really getting down to just, the melody and the guitar. And Dave Grohl playing with the brushes is really cool. I like his drum sound on here. We even get to hear Chris Novoselic play the accordion, so that's fun. But yeah, I think this is a really cool album. But one thing that they did a lot differently than other people would just like pick their biggest hits and do them in an acoustic set. I feel like Nirvana actually thought out what songs do we have that would sound good in an acoustic setting rather than just picking their biggest ones. Notice the lack of Smells Like Teen Spirit on here. The only really big song on here is Come As You Are, but I feel like they picked that one because that one does work well in an acoustic setting. But I feel like some of the songs that they picked on here, they'd pick not just because they were popular, but just because they thought, hey, I think this will translate well to a live acoustic setting. It makes for a good listen and for a vibey experience.
And I fact-checked myself. As it turns out, this broadcast on MTV would end up airing in December of 93, and Kurt Cobain would pass away in April of 94. So this came out before everything went down there. So I don't know why.
What about the album, though? When was the album released?
The album was released November 1st, 94. So
okay, so the TV special is before, then it happens, and then the album comes out after.
Yes. So, my bad, y'all. I didn't mean to confuse everyone, but
that is a little confusing.
I like to be precise with dates. What can I say? I personally really enjoy the album. It's their most consistent album behind Nevermind. So I'm firmly in the side of Jacob Martin here on this one. But we've got some comments to catch up on. Jeremiah Bach. Hello, Jeremiah. It has been too long. It's been a minute. Yes, it has. I just Googled Nirvana. I don't think I've ever listened to them. This will be my first exposure that I'm aware of. Well,
Google Smells Like Teen, or YouTube or Spotify or whatever Smells Like Teen Spirit. You're gonna I've heard them. If you hear that song,
yeah.
Smells Like Teen Spirit is a good gateway.
Oh, hello, Collins. How are you? Be careful. I heard this song is haunted with a smell, and that smell smells like Teen Spirit.
Not on this album.
I remember on MTV, Kurt Cobain messed up and dropped the F-bomb during the performance. That is true. Like, he says some things that is like, oh, we'll edit this out later. It's a television show, and it's blatantly not edited out of the final broadcast.
I think one of the songs he's like, I guarantee I'm gonna mess this song up. You watch.
I'm fairly certain, yeah. Do you have feelings to this song like a heart-shaped box? Well, maybe. We'll get into that. But let's get into the album proper, starting off with track number 1, About a Girl. Nick.
All right. Well, if you know, I thought this was one of the better songs on the Bleach album. And it's okay, the acoustic version. I think, in my opinion, I think the original's a lot better. I'm not sure where you guys will stand on this, but I'm not saying it's terrible, but I wasn't really crazy about it.
I think this will be the first time I'm going to disagree with Nick, because I actually think this version is better than the studio version, which is saying a lot because the original studio version was easily the best song on an otherwise bad album, Bleach. So it's cool that they started the track list with a song from an album that even Kurt Cobain said in his own words, an album that nobody listened to. So it's like you're bringing exposure to the best song on that album that nobody listened to, and made an even better recording of it with that acoustic setting. And I thought it just set the tone so well for a really awesome live show.
First off, I like how it opens up with a little bit of like introduction where they get up and they're like, "Good evening. We'd like to play a song from our first album that a lot of people probably don't know about." And then they start playing this. And I can't tell which one I like better. I like both of them. I'd say if I'm listening on a record, I would probably listen to this one more just because I'm most definitely going to be buying this album, and I don't think I'm ever going to get Bleach because negative creep. But yeah, I thought this was really cool. Great choice to open up the show. I like how he's kind of mixing the vocal parts, because on the studio version, there's 2 different parts. One of them just goes, I do, and it holds it out, and then he sings over that, but he has to kind of combine them in this live setting, which I think is cool. Yeah, great performance here, and I kind of mentioned this earlier, but Dave Grohl playing with brushes is super cool and adds to kind of the chill atmosphere of this song and this album.
So, a couple comments before I say my piece. Last one from me, but did you know that Brad Pitt was going to play Kurt Cobain in a Nirvana biopic? But Courtney Love, his wife, said no to him playing Kurt Cobain, and Brad Pitt banned her from being movie of his, blacklisting her from working with him or any of his friends. I did not know this. Scott, did you know this?
No.
I didn't know that either.
Take care of my homies. Well, take care.
Have fun at Bass Pro Shop.
Yeah, it's gonna become known for that, man.
But as far as my thoughts on the song go, I really enjoyed it. I personally prefer this over the studio version. The studio version is the best song on a, let's just call it a mediocre album. I'll be generous tonight. And just overall, like, it wasn't great, but that was the best one. But I just generally liked that one a whole lot better. But the originals will keep on coming as we get to track number 2, which is Come As You Are. Nick.
No, I don't like this version at all. I'm not gonna pull the trash can out because this doesn't hurt my ears like any of the stuff after Girl Like You on Bleach or that song on In Utero. I know the name of it, but I'm not gonna say it because I don't want to say it. So I'm not pulling out the trash can. Would pretty much be saying it's just as bad as those. It's not bad. It's just this is nowhere near good as the original version on Nevermind. I mean, I know they weren't trying to make a better version of it, but I don't know. This just doesn't work as an acoustic song. I'm sorry.
Mm.
Yeah, I think this is the worst song on the album.
Well, Jacob.
Well, it's really hard because this is one of Nirvana's biggest hits. So I think you got a little bit of an unfair competition because the Nevermind version is one of their best songs.
Mm-hmm.
I do agree, Nick. It's not as good as the studio versions. It doesn't even come close. But I do think it does work in the acoustic setting, and I still enjoyed what they were able to do with it with the stripped back production. A part of me wondered how they would have done "Smells Like Teen Spirit" or "In Bloom," but I think an acoustic version of "Smells Like Teen Spirit" would kind of lose the edge of what made that song good, which is probably why they didn't do it for this album. But "Come As You Are," because it's a little bit slower in nature, I think it benefits better to the stripped back setting. And I still enjoy this take of the song very well. As far as this album goes, this version's out of my top 5, but I still really like it.
All right, Scott.
I think this is cool for when I'm listening to this album, but if I'm going to play Come As You Are, it's always going to be the Nevermind version unless I'm listening to this album. I think it's cool. I definitely think it works, but apart from whenever I'm listening to this album and it's like all the songs are unplugged, I don't think I'm going to be playing this on its own very often. But for what it is, an acoustic version of Come As You Are, I think it's really good, and I like kind of the more raw vocals in it.
I'm personally prefer the studio version on this one. That being said, though, this is still solid and I still greatly enjoyed it. But we get to our first cover of this entire album with a very long title, Jesus Doesn't Want Me for a Sunbeam. Nick.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the early part of this album. This is another one I really didn't like. I'm sorry, these first 4 songs are really rough to get through.
Oh, we'll get to one on this side. We're almost there, folks.
I know. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, I didn't care for this one either. I don't know why. It's just, I don't know. Normally I like songs about Jesus, but I don't know. This one just, something about this I just really didn't like. Maybe it was the lyrics, maybe the way they were singing it. I don't know. I was like, I'm not feeling this one.
Well, considering that Jacob is the most holy man of this entire stream, I imagine this resonated with him quite a bit.
No, this is actually my least favorite song on the album. I'm going to agree with Nick on this one.
Oh,
Thank
wow.
you, Jacob.
I don't even get the title of this song. Jesus Doesn't Want Me for a Sunbeam. Like that. Very odd title for a song. And I don't even get what the vibe they're trying to go for. Is this trying to be like, I know that apparently this is a cover, and even Kurt Cobain says it's a cover of an old Christian song, but we're doing it in the style of the group that we're covering it. So I'm not sure if this is supposed to be a representation of the original song or it's like a spoof of it. I think in the information I was able to grab, it looks like it's more of a spoof of it. So that kind of doesn't really sit right with me because it's like parodying Jesus there's kind of a line in that where it's like you don't really want to cross or it'll go into the offensive territory. So I don't, it's hard, I guess, it's hard finding any real merit in this song. I also think it's kind of boring too. Like of all the songs of this album, it's like this is the one I'm the least going to listen to compared to what else is on this album. It's not the worst thing Nirvana's done. Like the worst songs on Bleach is worse than the worst songs on In Utero. Like Nick's least favorite song, which was very noisy. But yeah, this one didn't do it for me at all.
Well, I'm not the only one, to be honest. I was like, hopefully Jason, not Jason. Hopefully Jacob doesn't kill me for saying that, but I'm like, okay, yeah.
We're 3 for 3 on this one. This does not fit Nirvana's style at all. I have no idea why they chose to do this song. The whole time listening to it, I just keep thinking, this doesn't just not fit. Like it doesn't work. I like the rest of this album, but this just I don't even know what it is. It just doesn't work. There's not really much more I can add. It doesn't really work for Nirvana.
Well, I'll catch up on a couple comments first before I say my piece. I'm enjoying this pretty well. It's well outside my usual wheelhouse, but it's definitely good. It's kind of grungy, but not too hardcore.
That would be Negative Creep. If you listen to Negative Creep by Nirvana, Negative Creep, let me repeat that. Have a listen to that and see that is hardcore grungy.
Watch your ears, Jeremiah, when you listen to that. This song actually reminding me of you too, just a bit. To clarify, "Come As You Are" was reminding me of you too.
Okay, I can see that comparison.
If you want another good Nirvana song, check out "In Bloom" or "Heart Shaped Box." You'll like those ones a lot better.
Or if you've seen the Batman, you've probably heard "Something in the Way." That's a fantastic song.
Yeah, that's the song in all of the marketing and the trailers and such.
It's in the movie too.
It's what the main theme was based on too.
Like, I'm just saying, like, they need to make the next trailer like Heart-Shaped Box or something, just to like continue it, or if they do Poison Ivy in like the Batman 3, they need to do In Bloom. I mean, it's right there.
Yeah. Actually, Negative Creep might work for Batman.
Oh no! Don't give them any ideas.
And not only if Batman is singing it. I'm a negative creep. I'm a negative creep.
Just Googled it. Apparently, "Jesus Doesn't Want Me for a Sunbeam" is actually closely based on a century-old hymn. Interesting. I guess they subverted it. The "Jesus doesn't want me" implying they feel rejected by the ideals of Christianity. Interesting. I'll definitely have to look into that. But as far as my thoughts, it didn't make my top 5, but I weirdly liked it. I get where you guys are coming from. I'm not going to say, like, you guys are wrong, you're all wrong. Like, no, I'm not going to go quite that far. I get it. I kind of liked the accordion on this. I thought it was kind of neat. They would never touch it again, but I kind of liked it a little bit. Not love, but like. And I'm just going to leave it at that. But now let's get into, let's rip the Band-Aid off the man who sold the world. Nick.
This is going to be another hot take for me. I didn't like this version. People say this is better than the Bowie version. I don't get it, and I don't hear it. I think the David Bowie version is miles superior to this version. Maybe because I'm more used to the Bowie version, but every time I hear this song, people have to be like, "Oh, the Nirvana version's better on the MTV album, Unplugged." I heard it once a while ago. I didn't care for it then, and listened to it for this album. I still do not care for it. This is another one of my least favorite songs on the album. I mean, like I said, rough first 4 songs for me. We're going to get a little better the next song, I promise.
Jacob?
All right, so another hard disagree with Nick. This is one of my favorite Nirvana songs. Well, to be fair, I did not know David Bowie originally recorded this song when I first heard the Nirvana version. I listened to it one time, and I actually saw the video for it from the MTV show, and I just thought it was so amazing that you could, like, plug a 6-string acoustic guitar and make it sound electric with that guitar sound. I'm like, that is amazing with that. So that already hooks me in right there. I mean, just the way Kurt Cobain like sells the sadness of the song, I thought was very superb. I do love the chorus of the song. I guess, to be fair, I've only heard the David Bowie version. I think like one time I heard it, and I like the Bowie version. Like the one time I've heard it, but I've heard the Nirvana version way more, so I'm used to it. So if I had to make a judgment on which version's better, I'm going to go with the Nirvana version personally. Uh, I think I like the way Kurt Cobain sings the song and the material better than Bowie. But you guys still gotta give the Bowie version credit because he wrote it and originally recorded it. So without Bowie, you wouldn't have Nirvana. So you gotta give credit where credit is due. This is actually one of my favorite songs on the album. Like when I think the MTV Unplugged, this is one of the first songs I think of, and this is one of the big highlights of the album.
Scott?
Shameless plug, if you want to hear me review the Bowie version, I have a full review of the entire David Bowie album, The Man Who Sold the World, on my channel, Soundlab Studios. If you're interested in what I feel about the David Bowie version, I think I even have a plug for this video on there, even though it hadn't happened yet. But as for this one, am I going to go with Nick, or am I going to go with Jacob? Would you believe if I'm going to say neither? I like this about the same as the David Bowie version. As somebody who has the David Bowie album and has listened to that one, honestly, I feel like I've listened to the David Bowie version more than the Nirvana version, just because I actually have that album and I don't have MTV on a record. But I feel like this is a very interesting interpretation of that song, especially how apparently Cobain hid an electric guitar amplifier somewhere on the stage underneath like a tablecloth or something, because he knew that he couldn't play this song like just acoustically, which is why he put his guitar has an electric guitar pickup in it, and so that's what kind of makes it sound more electric on it. So kind of cheating, but it makes it super cool. I love the effect that gives. I like the rawness in his voice on this version. That's what kind of makes me go to this version, is he kind of has a rawness and a more power in his voice than David Bowie. Bowie has the cooler, trippier effects on his voice and the bigger production with like the thing and the whole choir behind him or whatever. But this is more raw, and I don't know, I kind of like that about it. And I like how near the end, Kurt plays a guitar solo, which is pretty much the choir line from the David Bowie version. And even gives credit where credit is due. It's kind of interesting that a lot of people think Nirvana wrote this song when at the very end he says that was a David Bowie song. But I really like the just the chill vibes that this song gives off. It's really cool.
So, got a few more comments. Let me just do these really quick. It would work for Batman in the comics. They keep making Batman into a creep, a borderline villain, really. They do the same with Superman. My sister has a whole rant on that.
Oh, you didn't actually listen to Negative Creep, did you?
Yeah, I'm going to say, like,
your poor
Jeremiah,
ears.
you need to listen to that and watch your
Part
ears.
2, Scentless Apprentice.
Not Scentless Apprentice. Don't do that to us.
Scentless Apprentice is bad.
James Gunn Cinematic Universe can't come soon enough. I truly hope the comics follow the example of Gunn. That's what he's been talking about. I hope so too. I love David Bowie's side note, but honestly, his music for Labyrinth is probably his best work. Oh, interesting.
That's a hot take.
It's his best work, but the Labyrinth soundtrack is underrated.
It is, but like Station to Station, Ziggy Stardust, Aladdin Sane, Hunky Dory, like better than all that. Even the Berlin trilogy.
Sorry, I just veered way off into the weeds here. You know I'll take any excuse to talk superhero movies. You're good, Jeremiah, but no, you're good on that. As far as my thoughts on Man Who Sold the World go, I love this version. I need to listen to the Bowie one again. It's been too long since I've listened to that, and I'm not going to compare it. The thing that sells this song for me is the cello. Shout out to Laurie Goldstone, who was on cello for a lot of these songs, and just when the cello hits, on that bridge at the end, it gives me goosebumps every single time. Like, it's phenomenal what she's able to do with that. So
She was going to be made an official member on the next album and make studio contributions if it hadn't happened.
I could tell, because like she would have fit right in.
Her and Pat would have been official studio members, and they would have went from a 3-piece to a 5-piece band.
Well, let's move on now to Pennyroyal Tea. So, Nick.
Well, finally, you get to hear me talk good. This is actually a really good song on the album. I mean, you remember our review on the last album, you'll know I really love that song. It's a great acoustic song on that album, and it's a great acoustic song on this album too. Which version's better? I can't really tell you. They're both very similar to each other. I mean, they're both acoustic songs, so this one's not that much different than that one. And yeah, I don't have much to say because, I mean, I already gave you my reasons why I love Pennyroyal Tea on that album. And this version's not that much different from that version, so I don't really have much more to say, but to say this is actually a really good song.
All right, Jacob.
Yeah, Pennyroyal Tea was another one of the highlights on In Utero. And I think the acoustic style works again on this recording. Again, I can't say which version I like better. I think vocally, I like the studio version better. But I still think the style still works on the Unplugged. And if you want to hear my full thoughts, again, just go watch the In Utero review. This version didn't quite make the top 5 like it did on In Utero. There's a lot of like good competitive songs on this MTV Unplugged album, but still another one of Nirvana's best deep cuts.
All right, Scott.
So if you watched the In Utero review, this was like number 4, I think, 4 or 3. One of them in the top 5, because I loved that song on that album. More great like acoustic. Not like it wasn't exactly acoustic on the album, but it was a more acoustically driven song. But this is one that just like transfers perfectly to this environment. This is just Cobain and the guitar. Chris and Dave sit out on this one, and I think that works. I like how it's like just him and the guitar. It makes it feel more personal. Although I'll say one thing. The one thing that I did not like about this version is that the harmony vocals aren't there. And when he got to the I sit and drink Pennyroyal Tea, in my head, the whole time I was thinking Pennyroyal Tea. I'm like, where's that? Where's the harmony? That was one of my favorite things about the studio version. I would say that I like this version better if Pat would have sung that high harmony. I kept missing it, and so for that reason, I'm going to go with the studio version, which also I like whenever the electric guitars come in on the studio version, and just the whole band thing. But still, for this particular album, it kind of gives a more intimate setting to this song, and I think that really works for it. So this is one that I might actually listen to on its own as well, but I'll probably go back to the studio version more often just because those harmonies are so good on the studio version, and I'm sorely missed on this one.
I enjoyed this version, but not as much as I enjoyed the studio version. I'm going to side with Scott on this one. I was missing those harmonies too, and like you were saying, Scott, and I was expecting them, and then I was like, wait, Kurt's alone on this one? And don't get me wrong, he does a great job, but it just felt like there was something missing here. I just feel like, yes, there you go. But we're almost at the end of the side, so let's press on now with Dumb, Nick.
Well, if you watched our review on In Utero, you will know I did enjoy the song on that album. However, on here. It's okay. I don't think it's as good as the one on In Utero. Uh, I remember the one in Utero was kind of a softer song too, but of course, this being the acoustic only album, somewhat they made it really acoustic, and this one was okay. It's not, I wouldn't say it's bad or terrible or anything, but I don't think it's anywhere near as good as the one on In Utero. Don't really have much. What's that to there?
All right, Jacob.
Yeah, Dumb was one of my favorite songs on In Utero. It was another one that made my top 5. And I think it still works good on this album. I don't know which version I like better. I think this is one where I think I like both the studio and the live equally. It's still the same great song either way. This version's not in my top 5 because my top 5 is very competitive. But it's still another really great song on the album. I enjoy most of the songs on here, even though I think on a lot of these, I think I prefer the studio versions, but there's a couple where I think I like the live versions, but I do like the overall aesthetic on this album, and Dumb is no exception.
All right, Scott.
This song is probably the closest to its studio counterpart. It's very similar. There's not a lot to really distinguish it. It's a little bit different, but the cello's there, the guitar is there. It sounds very similar to the studio version, and for that, I still have it high on my list because it's like, just listening to Dumb, which is actually one of my favorite Nirvana songs. But at the same time, I was expecting them to do something a little bit different, just a little bit, and it's kind of the same. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
So I like the studio version of this song, but I love this. I love the Dumb version, or I love the live
dumbed
version.
down dumb version.
Uh,
Dumb down dumb.
That's why I'm getting useless after 9:30. But I like the live version better. I like the studio version, but I like this one better. And it comes down to that cello again. Like as soon as I think I'm dumb, or maybe just happy, and then it's like I'm just like, that adds so much, you have no idea. So this is an easy top 5 for me. But we are almost at the end of the side, and well, we need to talk about Polly again, or can we just say we don't like the song and move on?
There's some differences though.
Well, Nick,
Ditto from the last review.
fair enough.
I mean, my opinion on the song is the same way as it was on Nevermind. I like the production, but lyrically the song is creepy. I don't know why it's sung in this perspective. I think it's even more weird that it's on the live album that aired on TV and it retained the same lyrics. That's like, what are we doing here? But I still don't really care for this song, to be honest.
All right,
I think
Scott?
there was one lyric changed for this. I think. I haven't listened to the studio version enough, but I think they changed one of the lyrics. Just one line. I don't know. I think I like this better than the studio version. I mean, it's still not one of my favorite songs. Check out the Nevermind review for my views on this song. For some reason, I feel like this works better in this acoustic setting. I don't know what it is. I mean, lyrically, I still feel exactly the same way about it, but musically, I don't know. I felt like it worked a little bit better. And I think they did change one of the lines to kind of make it point out really how bad the person is. I changed it to like, you need help, I help myself, I think is what they changed it to. And I don't think that was on the I don't want to Google the lyrics to that song, but I'm pretty sure they changed that one line.
Well, This is still an incredibly problematic song. My one question is that, like, someone at MTV must have been like, guys, you do know the song is about, right? Like, I know it was kind of fast and loose in the mid 90s, and like you could conceivably get away with more things like that back then, and especially potentially on MTV, but I'm surprised no one was like, you have a bunch of other songs you could play. Why that one? Like, someone should have thrown up a red flag about that. I don't know.
They
I mean,
probably had censors that they had to clear all the lyrics by. I don't know. Maybe they just didn't know what it was about. They thought it was about a parrot or something.
Yeah, well, I mean, the first line is Paulie wants a cracker, for crying out loud.
I just imagine like Dave Grohl would be like, it's about a parrot. Like it's about a parrot.
It's about a parrot sung by a pirate.
There you go.
I mean,
So-
In Bloom was right there. I mean, you could have done that song.
I don't think In Bloom would have worked as an acoustic song. What about
Heart-shaped box.
What about Drain You?
Oh, that's another good one.
That would have worked. That would have worked really well on this one.
Well, actually, if you hear the country version of In Bloom, I think Nirvana could have done a more acoustic style version of In Bloom.
My hot take is I like the country version better.
I've heard it now. I've heard it now, and I strongly disagree. Even though that was still very good, I don't think it beats the original.
Well, let's flip the record over and get to side B, starting off with On a Plane. Nick.
Well, I will say the first side was very rough, to say the least. But we opened up with a good song. Yeah, I actually really like this song. I will say I think I like the second side a lot better than the first side. That's just me. In my opinion, I'd say there's like one song on side one I like, and then there's like 6 songs on side 2 I really like. So I feel like if you would have taken the one song from side 1 and swapped it with the one song I don't like on the second side, you would have had a perfect second side. But I digress.
We will get there. Jacob.
The Nevermind version, which is what this is originally on, I liked pretty well. This one I think still works in the acoustic setting. I think I like the polish on the studio version better, but this is still pretty good. I still like how it's done vocally and with the stripped backness of it.
All right,
if you
Scott?
watched our Nevermind review, you know that On a Plane was one that I feel like was one of the most underrated songs from that album. I think it works really well here, and I forgot that they did this one, and so whenever I heard that guitar chord progression come in, I knew what it was, and I'm like, oh, I forgot they did On a Plane. Yeah, that works really well for this. And it does, but at the same time, some of the studio tricks are missed, much like the penny royalty. Especially the outro on the studio is where all the instruments cut out. And it's just the. They didn't have those backing vocals either. Those I'm on a plane. They didn't have any of that, which that's sad because I feel like that's kind of what makes the song. But for what it is, I thought it was a cool acoustic version of the song.
I liked it. I didn't love it. I personally preferred the studio version, but that's just me. Not bad by any means, but I still enjoyed it, but not as much. It like Scott was talking about. Sometimes the polish is good, and sometimes it's not so good. And I feel like this is one of the ones that needed the polish, but that's just me personally. But we press on to Something in the Way. Nick.
No. This is another one. I'm just like, no. This is the one song I don't like on this side. I really like the original. Whoever's in the comments who's ready to put up the pitchforks, he doesn't like Something in the Way.
The acoustic version.
Watch our Nevermind review, and you know I love that song. This song, It does not work for me. I hate this version. This and Come As You Are. I'm like, it doesn't work at all in the acoustic side. I really, really, I mean, yeah, not a fan. Not a fan. Yeah, I really could have done without this one.
Well, if you saw our review of Nevermind, not only was Something in the Way my favorite song on that album, Over Smells Like Teen Spirit, but I said that was my favorite Nirvana song. Does that translate on MTV Unplugged? I'm going to disagree with Nick. I think it still works very well. I couldn't really tell a main difference between the two versions, to be honest, because the studio version also had that stripped back feel on it. It was mainly the guitars and there was the cello on it, and this replicated that in a more stripped back setting. So I think the production of it is still there, the emotion is still there, and I still think it works great on this album. With that said, though, this version did not make my top 5 because I wanted to highlight some of the other songs on the album that I think really benefited from the live setting. I think overall I'm still going to prefer the Nevermind version, but this live version is still really something, and yeah, I'm not going to turn down Something in the Way, whether the studio or the acoustic. They both work.
All right, Scott?
Want to hear something crazy? I'm with Nick on this one.
Oh.
Here I have been saying all these songs translate well. Well, this is the one you think would translate the best because it's just acoustic guitar and cello. They play it so different. The main guitar, they play the main guitar very differently. And then when Kurt Cobain comes in, he sings it so different than he does on the record. On the record, he sounds like a depressed homeless guy, like underneath the bridge, toughest, like he's actually homeless and having to try to catch these animals, but they end up becoming his friends, and that just makes the chorus when it comes in even stronger. Especially the big thing on the record is when Dave Grohl's drums come in, it's just like a punch to the gut, just cutting through the otherwise acoustic song. This here, he's singing it kind of straight the whole time and not with a whole lot of emotion, which if you want to hear him sing with emotion, we're going to get to that on a song later on the album. But I hate to say it, I feel like he was kind of phoning it in vocally on this version, which is weird because he does great on every other song on this album vocally, but this one it feels like he was just kind of going through the motions on it. The cello was great, but between the guitar riff being played differently and I feel like it just wasn't up to par vocally with the rest of the album, I think that this is probably my least favorite song on the album, even though Something in the Way made my top 5 for Nevermind.
Okay, so here goes. This made my top 5. I really liked this one quite a bit. It was the cello that saved it again, and I like the polished one and I like the raw one. Like I just like this song in general in both versions. I have a great appreciation for it. So that being said, I get what you guys are saying, like 100%. I'm not trying to like shout you down. For me personally, I really enjoyed it more than I was expecting. But let's move on now, and we've got a trio of covers from the band The Meat Puppets, starting off
all from their second album,
as he says later in the album. But this track is called Plateau. So Nick,
this is one of my favorite songs on the album.
I didn't think you would be saying that this evening.
My hot take is I think their covers of these songs are the highlight of the album for me, in my opinion. Maybe because it's not Nirvana songs, so
it's something that they haven't given us before.
That's probably why.
And it's not them attempting to do Bowie, because I know how big of a Bowie fan you are.
Exactly, that too. It's like two things that I don't think work that I think works here. I'm not expecting for anyone to agree with me, and I won't be upset if you don't agree with me. To me, I thought this was a big highlight on the album. I really enjoyed it.
All right, Jacob.
So I've never heard of the Meat Puppets, so this was a new experience for me. I will say with this song and the other two we'll be talking about, they actually got the members of the Meat Puppets to play with them on these three songs. So that's a cool little touch there. It's cool to give respect to the original artist. As for this song, I think it's pretty good. It's not in my top five by any means, but I do think it's a fun track. There's a little bit of bounce in the song that you don't really hear from Nirvana because usually Kurt Cobain sings about being sad all the time. I guess you could say this might be the goofiest song Nirvana ever recorded, but especially the way Kurt Cobain sings it, which makes it unique, which is pretty cool. Like I said, this one's not my favorite on the album. Still a really good track, and you'll hear my thoughts on the other two songs when we get there.
All right, Scott.
So the first time I listened to this album, I thought, what are these Meat Puppets songs? What are they doing here? I came here to listen to Nirvana songs done acoustically. My second time listening to this today, I actually really enjoyed all three of them. This one was really good. I forget exactly what it was, but when the line he sings about the birds or whatever, that's probably my favorite part of the song because that's really fun how he sings that. But I think it's cool how they're kind of bringing some new stuff that we haven't heard from them before, as well as I know Kurt was really big into supporting bands that were kind of smaller and making them more well-known. Probably because he didn't want Nirvana to be as big as they were, so it was kind of him being like, hey, like, why don't you help out this band that I feel is kind of underrated, helping them out there. I thought that was cool. But, this is a vibe. I'm thinking about redoing my top 5 and putting this song on there, but we'll find out.
Well, this made my top 5, and of the Meat Puppets trilogy, I'm going to call it, this is my favorite. Like, I enjoyed all of the songs, but I just liked this one the most. Like, and I could have sworn I thought everyone was going to complain about how when he went birds, like that was going to be annoying, but apparently
No, I thought that was funny.
I was way wrong because I liked it, but I thought I was going to be the only one.
You're not the only one.
But let's move on now to the middle of the trilogy. Oh Me, Nick.
I really enjoyed the song as well. It's just there's a vibe to this. These I feel like these three songs in particular, I think have a vibe to them that I really really enjoy. I think, yeah, this is another song I was just vibing to. I wasn't paying attention to the lyrics. It was just like this is a vibey song, and yeah, this was another one of my favorites on the album.
Jacob.
All right, so this is my least favorite of the three Meat Puppet songs. I like the acoustic vibe of it, but other than that, I can't really tell you anything about this song. I'm going to say this is the Before They Make Me Run of the album. If you know, you know.
Scott?
Yeah, definitely the weakest link in the Meat Puppet trilogy, but still, it's a vibe. I'm not going to say it's Before They Make Me Run level, but I thought it was fun. It's a vibey little song. I'm excited, though, to talk more about the next one because I feel like we're all going to like that one a lot.
Yeah, I won't waste too much time. I liked it fine. It's my least favorite of the three Meat Puppets songs, but while my personal favorite was Plateau, I have a feeling some of you liked this one even more than me. And I liked it fine, but you guys, I think this one might go over a little more. Lake of Fire, Nick.
This is another one of my favorite songs on the album. This is another kind of vibey song for me. Again, I wasn't paying attention to the lyrics. It was just more of a vibe to it. Looking at everyone's reactions, I'm not sure if I'm crazy or not. Hopefully not. This made my top 3. All 3 of these songs made my top 3. The whatever, the forgetting the name of that artist you guys keep talking about. To me, I think they're the best 3 songs on the album. But yeah, I thought this was another highlight.
Well,
Jacob?
Nick, this didn't quite make my top 3, but it's in my top 5.
Okay.
This is my favorite of the Meat Puppet songs. This one has a great vibe to it, which is crazy because the lyrical subject matter is about ungodly people burning in hell, the lake of fire. But I was still vibing to this song. Had such a great groove to it, and I love the way Kurt Cobain sing it. Where the angels go and they die, don't go to heaven where the angels cry, in the lake of fire, or something like that. I'm like, man, this is for a song about a lot of suffering. It's a catchy little song. This song is a great hidden gem from Nirvana. It's awesome.
Right. Scott?
This is my favorite of the Meat Puppet songs as well, and I am 100% going to rework my list to put this in my top 5. I didn't know that Cobain could do the blues so well. I mean, it's not like a straight blues song, but it's a lot bluesier than the other. Though this and Where Did You Sleep Last Night are very bluesy. But yeah, this was a vibe, and vocally, this is probably his second best song on the album. We were saving his best for last, but second best song on the album vocally for him.
Yeah, I didn't like this as much as Plateau, but I still really liked it. This one just like barely missed out on the top 5. Like if I were doing like 6, it would have been 6. But we are almost done. This is the penultimate track. This is All Apologies. Nick.
Oh, is this the last song?
Second to
to
last.
last.
Okay,
Second
I was
one.
like, I was saying I saw there was one more song. I didn't know if it was crazy or not. All right, All Apologies. So, as you were able to see, I've been very, very hit or miss with their previous songs. And well, what do I think about this one? I love this version. This is an awesome version. I really like All Apologies on the last album. You know that. And I really like it on this version. This made my top 5. I'll be brutally honest. These last 5 songs on the album, I think are the best 5 songs on the album. I think they saved the best for last, in my opinion. Which, I mean, if you're gonna have an album that I'm not crazy about, at least save the best 5 songs for last. So, yeah, I think these last 5 songs are really, really good. Saves it from getting a really bad score. Yeah, I love this version. I'm not sure where you guys stand on it, but to me, this is one of the best songs on the album.
Jacob?
Yeah, out of all of the hit songs that they stripped down for this album, this one has always been my favorite since I first heard it. I heard this version before I heard the studio version. And to me, while I like the studio version, I think the heavier guitars kind of take me out of it a little bit in a way. I've always preferred the live acoustic version of this song. I think the lyrics are more introspective within the stripped down version. And I think I like the style of production better. Really like the bass riff on this song. It's really cool, which stands out a lot more in the Unplugged version. So yeah, I've always liked this song, but the big strength of it is the MTV version, in my opinion. This one's in my top 3.
All right, Scott?
I'm going to be the opposite. I like the studio version better on this one. Even though I loved this, I feel like of all the songs that are written by Nirvana, this is a good one for them to do last for, their own songs. That bass at the beginning, and again, some more good vocal work. What else can I be? All apologies. Yeah, really good. This one works very well in this particular setting, and I love the part where it goes, married, yeah. Yeah, it would have been interesting if they had. I'm glad they didn't end it with this song, but it would have been interesting if they'd ended it with this song, having ended both their studio and their live discography with this one. But I'm really excited to talk about the next one.
Yeah, well, I won't waste too much time. I enjoyed this one. It didn't make my 5, but I still really liked it. I prefer the studio version, but it's like a studio version, live version, and it's like neck and neck. I still greatly enjoy both versions. But let's close out this album and Nirvana's discography. I know how to speak. By taking a look at Where Did You Sleep Last Night, Nick?
I thought this was a great way to close out the album and great way to close out their discography. It's like a nice last song. And I don't have much more to add. It's just a song that I'm like, yeah, I enjoy it. And this made my top 5. So I'm curious what you guys have to say.
Jacob?
All right. So the first time I heard this song, I was in a class at community college years ago. I was in a music appreciation class, and we were exploring rock music. And Nirvana was brought up, and this is one of the songs the teacher played, played several stuff from the MTV Unplugged. This was one of them. And even when I first heard the song, I was hooked. And then a few times I've listened to it ever since. I always forget how amazing of a song this actually is. This is some old blues song done in the Nirvana style. And I think they did a phenomenal job on this song. Like the way Kurt Cobain sings it, you think he wrote the song. Like it's that good. It's a good mix of blues, a little bit of folkiness to it, and his raw vocals. I'm going to say it. Not only is the final chorus where he belts the my girl, oh, where did you go? And where did you sleep last night? Which I can't do as well. But that final chorus where he just belts it, not only is it his best vocals on the album, but it's the best vocals he ever did in his whole career. I got goosebumps listening to it. He was really going all out on it, and I hate that he killed himself after doing this album. That's unfortunate. I wish he lived on to do other stuff, because I'm sure Nirvana still would have done some awesome stuff after this album. But considering the circumstances, that being the final thing he ever did, wow. I'm kind of speechless. It's an amazing song.
Yeah.
Jacob, do you want to know who wrote this song?
I think I've heard the name of the artist. It's I think Leadbelly. That's his name.
Leadbelly. You want to know what else Leadbelly wrote? When I was a little baby, my mama would rock me in the cradle.
Heard the CCR version the other day. So
your favorite song? Yep. He wrote that song too. But wow, what a way to go out, man! The first time I heard this, I was just like, okay, I knew Kurt Cobain was a good singer, but whoa, this is on another level of good. Like he could have been in like a blues band or something. Like this is heavy singing on here, especially that end. Like whenever it gets to it jumps up an octave, the last chorus, and then like the very last line, it's just like, oh my gosh, it's like, did he know this was going to be his last performance? Because he has given 110% on this song. If you've never heard this song and you're only familiar with their studio stuff, have a listen to this, because this is insanely good. Like I might put this in my top 10 Nirvana songs, period. It's that good.
Yeah, I love this song so much. Easy top 5. Like what Jacob was talking about, this is one of Kurt Cobain's finest moments as a vocalist. Like he crushed it. and there's no other way to put it. I think this is one of their more underrated songs, that being Nirvana. And like you do like a top 5 or 10 underrated Nirvana songs, I would happily include it on that list. But now we have reached the end, and now it is time for top 5s. So Nick, go ahead.
Okay, well, I did say earlier that the last 5 songs would be my top 5, and I stand by that. Number 5, All Apologies. Number 4, Where Did You Sleep Last Night? Number 3, Oh Me. Number 2, Lake of Fire. And number 1, Plateau.
Okay, Jacob?
I will say the acoustic versions of Penny Royalty, Dumb, and Something in the Way are honorable mentions. That's for my top 5. Number 5, About a Girl. Number 4, Lake of Fire. Number 3, All Apologies. When I first did the ranking, The Man Who Sold the World was my number 1 for the longest time. It's now my number 2, because after listening to this album again just before we went live, I'm going to have to put Where Did You Sleep Last Night at number 1. It's a contender for one of the best Nirvana songs.
I am completely rearranging my top 5. I made a top. Let me go ahead and list you what my top 5 was, and then I'm going to tell you what I changed it to after talking more about it. My top 5 was, and this is not my top 5 anymore. I had On a Plane at number 5, Penny Royalty at number 4, Dumb at 3, Where Did You Sleep Last Night at 2, and The Man Who Sold the World at 1. I'm completely rearranging it. I'm going to go number 5.
Scott, you need time?
No. The question is just which Nirvana cover do I want to put, or not cover, but Nirvana acoustic song do I want to put at number 5? I'm going to go with Dumb at number 5. I'm going to go at number 4, Plateau. Number 3, Lake of Fire. Number 2, The Man Who Sold the World. And number 1, Where Did You Sleep Last Night?
Okay, so for my number 5, going Plateau. Number 4, Where Did You Sleep Last Night? Number 3, Something in the Way. Number 2, Dumb. And number 1, The Man Who Sold the World. So, scores, Nick.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. Yeah, that first side is very rough, especially the first 4 songs. Definitely brings the album down. But it saves itself at the end, especially the last 5 songs. I think the last 5 songs brought it up from being a bad score. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10.
All right, Jacob.
It's definitely higher than a 5 out of 10, that's for sure. That's actually going to be higher than what I gave In Utero, which is a 6. When I first listened to the album, I gave it an 8, primarily because I didn't like that they did Polly again, and the Sunbeam song is not that good.
I take back what I said about Something in the Way. The Sunbeam song is my least favorite.
Yeah. With that said, also I'll stand. I think a lot of these acoustic recordings, while I love the aesthetic and the sound of it, I think I still prefer the studio version of a lot of these songs. With that said, we have a really great top 5 on this album. I love all the top 5. The 2 acoustic songs that I think are better than the studio version, and then 3 of the covers, which I would argue are some of Nirvana's best songs, particularly The Man Who Sold the World and Where Did You Sleep Last Night. So with that said, even with the flaws, I'm going to give it a 9. It's still my second favorite Nirvana album behind Nevermind.
Okay, Scott?
Right behind you there, I am also giving this a 9. Not enough to put it as a 9.5, and definitely not a 10 with the Sunbeam song being on there. But for what it is, it's a very enjoyable listen, getting to hear alternate versions of the Nirvana songs. And this one, a lot like Nevermind, plays well all the way through, which I can't say about any of the other Nirvana albums. In Utero has Scentless Apprentice and what's the song, Milk It or whatever, or Very Ape. I forget what.
Radio friendly unit shelter. That was horrible.
Moderate rock.
The Tourette's.
Yeah,
God, Tourette.
those songs. But it's good that there's at least 2 Nirvana albums. I feel like I can play all the way through without being like, oh, noise. That being said, it's still like not enough to compete with Nevermind, but I really wish that I liked In Utero better. I wish they would have put more songs on there. And you know what I really wish? I really wish that they would have made another studio album, because the next studio album was supposed to be kind of in the style of this album, but as a studio album. And they would have done new stuff, and they would have had contributions from Pat and from the cello player, and it would have been awesome. They'd have probably been my second, or it might have even passed Nevermind. We never know. But grunge was kind of dying out at this point, and so there's no telling what Nirvana would have become after this. Like, they could have become a whole different band, and it would have been amazing. Sad that we don't get to see what would have happened, but at the same time, what happened, and we got the Foo Fighters out of it. So
Yeah, we could do armchair quarterback all day, but it would just all be what if scenarios.
yeah,
For my score, though, I'm going 9 as well. This definitely has some lesser songs, but not enough to me to go further down than that. But with all the scores combined, it comes out to an 8 out of 10. And
Good.
8 on the nose. So, like I said, it's their most consistent album behind Nevermind, in my opinion. So, and that is it. That is Nirvana achieved.
have we achieved Nirvana now?
I mean, I suppose, unless you want to outrank the albums now, which I know my ranking, it's
4 albums. That won't take very long to rank.
It's
Okay.
like Nevermind, MTV, In Utero, Bleach, Down Here.
Ditto. That's exactly the same ranking as me.
That's pretty much the same ranking as me. So
My ranking's different. Number 4, I'm going with this album. That first half is definitely something for me. I gave this a 5 out of 10. Number 3, I'm going Bleach with a 5.5 out of 10. About a Girl, I think, is better than anything on this album. To me, that's like one of the best songs. Floyd the Barber, Love Buzz, Blue, School. I really like those songs. But I would say the lows on this album are definitely a lot worse than the lows on the album we just reviewed. Number 2, In Utero, with a 7 out of 10. And number 1, Nevermind, with a 9.5 out of 10. So that's my ranking.
I keep forgetting that like Blue and School exist. All I can remember is the bad stuff on Bleach.
Yeah. But thank you all so much for watching. What did you think? What is your favorite Nirvana album? Let us know in the live chat, or not the live chat, but in the edited version later, or the replay later. Again, slowly becoming useless after 9 o'clock. But thank you all so much for watching. All these guys' channel links are in the description. Nick, what do you have coming up?
Well, me and Briar are slowly going through Deep Purple's discography. Of course, I definitely want to get to Frank Sinatra's second album at some point with me, Scott, and Jacob. Of course, I want to get to And Then There Were Three by Genesis with you and Briar. That's
a great album.
One of my favorite Genesis albums, when they quote, went sellouts. Just going to put the emphasis on the quotes because I strongly disagree with that statement. Because just because you start making pop music doesn't make you automatically sellouts. Idiot. Sorry. I just get a little defensive because I love Phil Collins and when people are like, it's like you're getting angry at the wrong person. Like if you're getting angry at someone,
It's different.
get angry at Tony Banks if you're gonna get angry at someone. I'm not saying to get angry at him, but it's like it's like if quarterback was a great thrower, but the catcher didn't catch it, and they're like, "Oh my God, the quarterback is trash." It's like, no, blame the person who's not catching the ball. Like if you're getting angry at someone, at least be angry at the right person. But that's like a whole different can of worms right there. But anyways, can't think of anything else I'm doing right now that's gonna happen this week.
All right, Jacob.
All right. Well, on my channel this week, tomorrow night, I'm reviewing Don Bluth's Anastasia with Henry Mockingbird. We're going through all his movies. I rewatched that last week, and I'm not nostalgic for that movie like Henry is. I think he's told me before. I think that's like his favorite Don Bluth movie. I always liked it, but then I rewatched it again. I'm like, this is probably in his top 5 or my top 5. It's that good of a movie. And I'm excited to cover that one tomorrow.
Christopher Lloyd as Rasputin.
Yes, he's good. And also shout out to Jim Cummings, who did the singing for Rasputin. And I've always enjoyed him as a voice actor. And the Dylan song he sings in the movie is probably the best vocals I've ever heard him sing. It's that good. It's very Meatloaf-esque. It's that good. Then you got, what else? I think if we're able to get it done Thursday, me, Nick, and Jason might do our ranking of the Disney Bronze Age, or the Dark Age, whatever you want to call it. I'm looking forward to ranking that era. I know Nick's a big fan of that era, the 70s and 80s animated Disney movies.
I'm a big defender.
I don't know if I'm doing any other music collabs this week. I'm not going to be able to do anything this weekend, but I know I got some other some other great projects coming on the channel, whether it's Elvis or we're wrapping up the Beatles at some point with Let It Be. I'm excited to finish that.
We're on the last one.
Well, we got all those solo Beatles albums after that. So
true. That's gonna take, I don't know how long.
An eternity.
Do we have to listen to those Lennon ones?
No.
I don't intend to do the wedding album.
We are not listening to Lennon's experimental trilogy. We are not listening to George Harrison's electronic bleep bloop album.
The first one is the Sentimental Journey by Ringo.
Dang.
The jazz album.
Take it from me, who has listened to all 5 of those albums. You know, I'm a sucker for George Harrison's Indian music, so don't take my word on that one. But the Electronic Sounds album, those 2 weird albums, and the wedding album, they could all die in a burning hole.
You want to throw them in the lake of fire too? Those albums.
Oh gosh. I'll say I re-listened to the White Album recently, and you know what? I didn't 100% hate Revolution number 9.
Okay, that certainly is a take.
That's a take right there. I still think that's the worst thing.
I probably hated it 98%, but not 100%.
Oh.
That is certainly one of the takes of all time. But Scott, what do you have coming up?
I don't know the next time we're going to do it, but be on the lookout for a review of Billy Joel's Street Life Serenader album. That's probably the next video that you're going to see on my channel. But something I'm going to be on very soon. Head over to Jason the Old Millennials channel on Wednesday. This guy right here and I, as well as Briar's Music Showcase, are going to be going over our top 10 albums of the year 1968. And I took the assignment very seriously. This month I've been listening to pretty much any album from 1968 that looked any interesting, and I've listened to a total of 75 albums this month to prepare for this video. So be prepared to hear a lot of honorable mentions.
That is commitment.
And I'm going to do the same thing next month for 1969.
Oh.
Well, like I said, all their links are in the description. Go give them a subscribe. They do deserve it. As far as this channel goes, I have a lot of stuff cooking and a lot of stuff going. Small Talk, Talking Silence, David Lynch Project, Best Picture Month is going to be wrapping up soon. So, yeah, stay tuned for all of that. But
Sorry to interrupt. I just remembered this Wednesday, me and Ryan will be reviewing Inglorious Bastards.
Ooh,
that's right.
That's
One of
a
my
it'll
all-time
be-
favorite movies.
that's an insane movie.
my
Quentin
first time
Tarantino.
watching. It'll be my
Oh,
first
you've
time
never
watching.
seen it, Ryan?
No,
The Bears.
Wow.
I've heard of it. I've heard its reputation, and I've heard some
The,
of the references, but I've never seen it all the way through.
the Milk Farm. That's all I'm going to say. The Milk
That's
Farm.
That's like
I am aware
Probably-
of the reputation, and there's also a character that does this, and that's all I know.
I won't say anything else. It's an experience, especially the Tarantino movies that do the alternate version of world history. So you got this and Django Unchained and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
well, yeah. Don't say anything else with that because
So grab your Royale with cheese and
Stare at
Yeah.
women's feet.
Head on over to Nick's. Head on over to Nick's channel for that on Wednesday, because I will be over there. But as far as this channel goes in terms of music goes, we've already determined next band we're going to deep dive into belongs on the dark side of the moon. It's Pink Floyd, and the series is going to be called "We Wish You Were Here," a Pink Floyd retrospective. So that will be coming down the pike very soon. But thank you all so much for watching live. If you're watching the replay, thank you so much for watching that as well. For Nick, for Jacob, for Scott, my name is Ryan Cam. We will see you all in the next one. You all have a very good night.